Hi there. Welcome to Hub International's Debriefing a TriMetrix Talent Report in 3 Steps tutorial. My name is Susie Price. I am a professional facilitator, consultant, and author, and I am one of Hub International's TriMetrix account managers. And my goal in this short tutorial is to give you tools to help you confidently debrief TriMetrix Talent Reports so that when you can use the information you have on all of your candidates to reduce hiring risk and make the best hiring decision every time. So that's our focus here. Our agenda for today is we're going to talk about what's measured in TriMetrix. I use a car analogy. I'm going to give you a couple of quick tips on how to apply the results, and then we'll dive into the 3 debriefing steps. I use an acronym, and the acronym for the debriefing steps are BCR. Those are the 3 steps, so we'll go into detail around that. This is either an audio link or a video link, depends on how you're listening or watching. And I have all the material that I reference here as well as links to both the audio and the video at a page specifically for Hub. It's the Hub's Debriefing Support Tools page. And you can find it at pricelessprofessional.com/Hub TriMetrix. And the password is Hub TriMetrix. And it's Hub, TriMetrix. That's all lowercase and in one word. You probably want to, when we get to the debriefing in the 3 steps, have a sample talent report in front of you. Might help you. I want to mention a quote by Peter Drucker as we move forward today. It's something good to remember, the importance of making good hiring decisions. Peter Drucker said, "The ability to make good decisions regarding people represents one of the last reliable sources of competitive advantage, since very few organizations are very good at it." So we want Hub to be really good at making hiring decisions so you have that competitive advantage. It's costly to make hiring mistakes. Turnover due to a bad hire can cost, depending on the position and level of impact of that position on others, 1.5 to 8 times a person's salary. And that statistic is from the book Top Grading by Dr. Bradford Smart. So turnover often happens when someone says all the right things. They look good. Their background looks good. They sound good in the interview. Your instincts were that this was a good hire. And then sometimes that doesn't work out. They're not a great fit. And what we're talking about today quite a bit is about fit, and that fit matters. Match matters. Do they fit your job? And oftentimes, if someone is not strong enough for the role, or the role isn't a match, they could do the role, but they don't want to do the role, you end up with less than what you want. You end up with poor performance, and possibly it turns into turnover. So finding fit is what we're focused on here. We want to make sure that they match the role. And the hope is that with the talent report and the science behind using the assessments, that you're thinking about fit and not getting caught up in they looked good and they sounded good and they have the right background. Those are parts of the puzzle, but there's some other things that the TriMetrix Talent Report can help you look at and help you look beneath the surface. So if they match the role, then you're going to more than likely end up with a productive employee who's willing to give his or her all to the position, be committed to the company and to the mission and to the team. So that's what our focus is. First, I want to go into the first part of our agenda, which is review with you what is measured. I use a car analogy, and I'm going to walk through that with you. There are 3 sciences in TriMetrix, which is why one of the reasons it's called TriMetrix. It's tri-modal tool. And so in the car analogy, the first science is the DISC assessment. And we would call that how someone tends to drive. It's what you see. It's their interaction style. It's visible. And it's the DISC science, or the science of DISC. It's just what you see. It's how somebody's driving down the road in the car analogy. The next science that we measure is personal interests, attitudes, and values. So what is someone motivated by? What are they naturally interested in? And using the car analogy lingo, we say what puts gas in their tank? What rewards them? What are they most interested in? And the gas in the tank is important because it's not visible in an interview. You don't necessarily know what their true interests are. And so you want to, because what they're interested in is going to tell you whether the car or the vehicle is going to go or not. It drives behavior. So you want to make sure that they're motivated by what the job rewards. So that's why we measure something you can't see very easily, which is what fills a person's gas tank. Another area that we measure that's not easily seen is personal skills. It's measured through the science of axiology, and we call it in the car analogy, what's under the hood. You can't see what's under the hood of a vehicle, but what is under the hood and how it's working is going to tell you how strong and solid and reliable and fast the vehicle is going to be. So we're measuring three sciences: DISC, what and how a person tends to drive; interest, what fills a person's gas tank; personal skills, what's under the hood. And we want to apply all that to fit. And I'm going to show you today how you can determine what's the level of fit and how much risk do I have when I hire this person, because there's always a risk in hiring. If we continue on to with the car analogy, things that TriMetrix does not measure but that are very important to the hiring decision are some things that are obvious to you, but I wanted to tie them together with the car analogy, and that is background and experience. And with the car analogy, it's roads traveled and future plans. Where have you been? Where are you going? You're going to ask about that, and everyone tends to do that rather well in the interview. And then you also are wanting to think about where they're going to be parked, and that is the work environment, the culture of Hub, the leader that they're going to work for, the team that they're going to be a part of. Those things are not measured by TriMetrix, but are also key ingredients for making a solid hiring decision. So there are these important areas of fit on the job. We've got roads traveled, how a person tends to drive, what fills their tank, under the hood, and where they're parked. And TriMetrix brings you science to the hiring process when you are able to look at a couple of those areas that are not easily seen. And it helps you not over-focus. We don't want you to over-focus on background and experience solely. What the goal is to remember that people bring who they are to the job, and who they are is not only their background and experience, but their future ambitions, their style, how they like to interact, their strengths in interacting with others, their motivators, and that they're impacted by the environment and where they're going to be working. So we want to, with these images and these ideas of these main areas of the importance of fit on the job and the areas to focus on, would like to make sure is everyone's getting away from, hey, we can, with enough training and somebody tries hard enough, they can excel, because chances are good you've experienced the pain of that, and hence the reason for a lot of focus on fit. I want to quickly mention some other assessments, because I'm sure that you see and hear about other assessments. There are tools like Myers-Briggs, Predictive Index, HBDI are a couple of tools that are familiar to many people, and those are great tools. They are tools that usually measure one view or one science, which is behavioral, what you can see. What makes TriMetrix a bit different is you're trimodal. You're able to see not only style, the things you can see, but you can see things that you can't see, which is what is under the hood and what puts gas in their tank. And then also we've got a process that can help you look at fit. And according to the Department of Labor, what they suggest is that you use at least 3 views, 3 sciences of an individual when you're using assessments in any type of decision making within your business. And what they also recommend is you not apply them for more than 30% of your decisions. So we want to keep that in perspective. What we've also found in our own research is if you use one assessment, if I assess a candidate on one assessment, and I know what the position requires, I can predict 60% of the time who's going to be successful, which is helpful. If you use two assessments, such as how they drive, their style, how they communicate, and what puts gas in their tank, their motivators and their interests, I can guess, or you could probably too, if you knew what the job needed, you could be 80% correct in your prediction. But if you use three sciences, our research has shown us that 93% of the time you're going to be accurate in predicting who's going to be successful. So that's what we want. We want that high accuracy and predictability in your hiring so Hub can continue to have this competitive advantage. So now I want to quickly touch back again on how to apply the results, because I mentioned one of these things just a minute ago, and that is how much assessment results should be counted. They should be considered as 30% or less than 30% of your decision making. The other 70% is your interview, your instincts, the background, references, your experience, what's going on in the industry. So we want to keep the assessment results as 30%. The other thing I want you to think about is, as you're looking at the assessment results, think about what's the level of fit, and then based on that level of fit, what is the potential risk? And so I use a scale of 1 to 5. If they're an excellent fit, so say everything that you're looking for in the candidate shows up on the assessment, you've looked at the background, and you have matched them, you think they'll be a good fit in the culture, then they would score a 5. They are an excellent fit, and there's a minimal risk. There's always risk. That's something to keep in mind. And your goal is to try to minimize the risk. So if you can check off all those boxes of the car analogy, those 5 areas, then you are 5 areas from the car analogy that I went through just a minute ago, you've got less risk with this candidate. If they are not matching in many areas, then they might land at a 1, which is poor fit and higher risk. And so you can see, if you see the visuals, if you're watching the video, you'll see everything from 1, poor fit, to 2, fair fit, 3, satisfactory fit, 4, good fit, 5, excellent fit. It's just a framework or a mind map that you can use as you're thinking about candidates. And you don't have to officially use this. It's just something that I use as a mental map when I'm talking to leaders and hiring managers about candidates and suggestions on what they should do next. We will revisit this when we get to the 3 steps for debriefing a candidate's assessment, which is where we're going now. There are 3 steps, and again, the acronym is BCR. And let's go into what those 3 steps are for debriefing a talent report. Step 1, B, benchmark. Step 2, check reliability and compare to benchmark. Step 3, R, level of risk and decide on follow-up. Now, let's go into step 1, B, benchmark. So let me talk about this for a minute. Assessment results, so you get a TriMetrix Talent Report on a candidate, helps you understand the person. So you're being able to see things outside of the interview that are not readily visible. Well, a benchmark helps you understand the job. And a benchmark is basically an assessment of what is most important for success in the job. And I'm teaching you here in this short tutorial how to create an ad hoc benchmark. Could be something where you sit down and you make a list, or it could be just what you do mentally. But what I want you to do is use the benchmark as another data point. So you're not just looking at a talent report, which is, you do want to look at the talent report, but now you're looking at the talent report and saying, do they fit the job? And you're doing that through creating a benchmark. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and I'm going to give you some sample national benchmarks that won't be specific to Hub, but they will be a reference point. Again, it's just another way to look at fit and to see can they do the things that the job requires. Now, I'm showing you this ad hoc. We do have an online patented process for creating a benchmark, and if that ever interests you for maybe a particular position, we could help you with that. You can just give me a shout and I can go through that with you. So let's go into how to create an ad hoc benchmark. I want to mention that I have a book that I'm giving complimentary to Hub. It's a print book, but I do have a PDF version that I'm making available to you for free on the Hub's Debriefing Support Tools page. And the reason is there's a lot of information in there, more detail than I can do in this short tutorial about how to do a benchmark and about this whole process. So if that interests you, that will be at the tools page. And I'll also have a couple of podcasts that I do and a couple of blog articles that you can reference in case you want more information. The tools page, again, is pricelessprofessional.com/Hub TriMetrix, the password Hub TriMetrix. So we're going to look at how to create a benchmark. And I'm going to go through each of the three sciences. I'm going to spend the most time here on the personal skills. These are skills that you want to be looking at because they're not easily seen in the interview, and they're often seen after they're on the job, strength or lack of. And so I'm going to spend a little extra time here to make sure you're getting the benefit of this part of the assessment. Personal skills is based on the science of axiology, which is a science that measures how people judge, think, and process. And there are 23 personal skills, and all of the personal skills are job-related. If you see the list here, some examples: customer focus, diplomacy and tact, goal achievement, results orientation, self-management, personal accountability. All of those skills are personal skills, and they're all job-related. They're all required at some level for most jobs, but most jobs only require mastery of 7. So when you're thinking about a benchmark for a position, what I want you to do is pick your top 7 out of this 23. So if you have a position right now where you have a candidate who is interviewing for a position, I want you to think of that position and then look at this list of personal skills and pick your top 7 and rank them. And it's going to be hard because they all are admirable skills, but what is most needed for mastery in the position that you're filling? Once you have your top 7, what you'd want to do is go look at the candidates' results. And the candidates' results are on pages 8 through 11 on the TriMetrix Talent Report. And you're going to want to compare their scores in the area. So say you said customer focus was your number 1. You want to go look, well, how did this candidate score in customer focus? So, and what you're looking at is the higher the score, the higher the clarity, the higher the capacity. It means somebody can do this as with ease, and it can be a strength. So we floor the scores are a scale of 1 to 10, and we floor them at a 4. So the lowest you'll ever see is somebody's score as a 4. And they are compared against hundreds of thousands of other business-level people. And what you'll see in the assessment is how they scored. Are they above the mean from 68% of the population or below the mean? What you would look at is their numbers. A 4 to 6, if they score a 4 to a 6, they have a lower score in that area. If they score 6 to 8, it's a medium score. If they score 8 to 10, it's a high score. And again, the scale is 1 to 10. What you can also do is look at all of their personal skills. And if they score 18 to 20 of the personal skills, all above the mean and all pretty high, that is an indication based on our research that this person has a tendency to be a high performer and have high capacity or capability. And what you'll notice if you're watching the video is there are 2 personal skills out of the 23 that I have highlighted with little red dots. Those are personal accountability and self-management. Those 2 skills we have found in all top performers. And so I often, if I'm debriefing for someone else, I'm looking for personal accountability and self-management. Personal accountability is basically not blaming others for problems, getting on solution finding over and above blaming. So high personal accountability, what position do you know of that doesn't require that, would make somebody a high performer by coming through when there are problems and looking for solutions. Self-management is about the ability to manage your time and your priorities. So you always want to be looking for that. And they often show up in the top 7 when we use our patented process online that helps people pick create a benchmark. So if you had, for example, customer focus as your number 1 in your top 7, if somebody scored really low on it, the question in your mind is, if they scored a 4 to a 6, would be, is this person going to give poor customer care? Or say they scored, you said resiliency because it's a high stress position, and they scored a 4 or 5 on resiliency in the personal skill area. You're going to want to follow up because the question now is there some lack of ability to bounce back? Or self-management, they can't manage their time and priorities. Are they going to be able to, are they going to require extra supervision? So that's how you want to think of the personal skills. And when you're thinking of a benchmark, you're looking at the top 7, and those are the 7 that someone must master in the job in order to be successful. The next area that you're looking at is, in the assessment TriMetrix, is the motivators. What fills a person's gas tank? What does the job reward? So does the job reward learning the most? Does it reward economic return on investment? Does it reward service, process? And I have a flashcard for you on your support tools page that goes into more easy information about the descriptors of each of the motivators. But if you read the candidates' rankings, how they ranked the motivators, their top 2 or their top drivers, you'll see that in the talent report, pages 6 and 7, and there are definitions next to that. So what you would want to do is think about what will the job reward and pick the top 2 or 3, and then see if the candidate matched close to them. And then the last science for the benchmark that I'm going to ask you to make, you want to select the behavioral traits in TriMetrix. What behaviors are required 5 days a week on the job? Now, most of the time we have to do some of each one of these behaviors. This is the DISC style assessment, and we have to do a bit of all of this on the job, but which are the ones that you have to do the most, because we want someone's natural style to match up with what the job needs. And there are many people in Hub who understand the DISC assessment, and I'll have a couple of flashcards if you are wanting a refresher on the DISC graphs. Flashcard number 1 is a refresher on the DISC graphs. Flashcard number 2 gives you some DISC coaching insights, and that will all be on the Hub Debriefing Support Tools page. But if you have a sales position and you've decided that 5 days a week, what they're mostly going to need to focus on the most is being urgent, competitive, and frequent interaction with others. So those 3 stand out. If that was your position and you picked those top 3, go look at the candidate rankings on pages 3, 4, and 5 and see how they scored to see whether they're a match. Do they score? Is that a strong tendency for them? So to recap what I just covered about a benchmark, because we're still on step 1B, benchmark, is we're going to do what we see here we're going to take a position. If it's a sales role, we're going to say what are the top 7 personal skills for the job, and that's under the hood, not visible. you want to spend some time there, really what are the top 7 that must be mastered? You're going to look at what the job rewards, and you pick the top 2 or 3 things that the job rewards the most, and then what behaviors are needed 5 days a week on the job. Because we're focused on fit, and we need to be able to figure out what the job needs in order to do that. So here's an example benchmark. I have more of these on the tools page for you, but here's an example of outside sales positions. It's not specific to Hub and your outside sales position, but it'll give you a data point or a place to look. So you would take, if you have a candidate in front of you right now and they're interviewing for a sales position, you could use this as a little bit of a reference point and go check and see, okay, how well did this person score in self-starting ability, resiliency, self-management, results orientation, goal achievement, customer focus, interpersonal skills. And so a lot of people, organizations who have outside sales positions, this is the top 7 that ranked for them, as you must have mastery there. On the rewards and interests, we have utilitarian, individualistic, and theoretical. That's quite common in these outside sales roles. And in behaviors, how people drive, the DISC, urgency, competitiveness, and frequent interaction with others. So you would use this as to go back and look at the candidate's assessment. Here's another sample benchmark, insurance brokerage supervisor. There we've got self-management, personal accountability, resiliency, flexibility, goal achievement, planning and organization, and customer focus. Those are the top 7 personal skills. And then if you're watching the video, you can see the rest of those. If you want to go to the tools page, you'll see all of the sample benchmarks there. So the tools page, again, is Hub TriMetrix, pricelessprofessional.com/Hub TriMetrix. The password is Hub TriMetrix. There, I've mentioned it already a couple of times. I'll have some flashcards for you, some sample benchmarks. You can also call me if you have questions about this part of the process of debriefing, of how to create a benchmark. It's 770-578-6976 is my phone number. So that is step 1, B, benchmark. Next, what we want to do is C, step 2, check reliability and compare to the benchmark. So we want to check reliability on the under the hood portion of the assessment, and it is on your talent report. It's the try graph that you get on that first page. It'll be the 3rd graph, and what you're looking at lower left is you want to see 0.70 on both sides. So 0.70 or higher will tell you that it's a reliable assessment. And I've got an example on the video where you can see the right-hand side is scored lower. It's below 0.70. And in that case, we would have you send a low reliability retake link. And that is available on the Hub TriMetrix page. If you look for low reliability retake information, there's a sample email there and some links, and the candidate would go retake just this part. It takes about 20 minutes or less, and it's just this part of the assessment, which is the under the hood scores. We like to check reliability here because the scores are related to making sure they understand the instructions and how they scored compared to the rest of the population. It's a deeper science, and it's something that's not immediately seen by others, and so it's important that the information you're working on is reliable. So on the video, when you see this unreliable result, well, all of their scores under personal skills could be unreliable. So we would ask that you have them retake it. And we don't charge you for that. We give you the links for that, and all you have to do is copy me on the retake so that I know who to forward the retake to, because I won't know if it shows up and I haven't had who to send it to. So we want to check reliability, and then we want to do the other C in step 2, which is compare the candidate's results to the benchmark, which I did a little bit of that in our prior conversation. But you'll see the example here. We've got an outside sales position, and we see this candidate did not score a match to self-management and goal achievement. They didn't score that as high. They actually scored it as low on the scale of 1 to 10. So there's some question there. The person did closely match what the job rewards, and they did not match one of the behaviors. They did not match urgency. So those are going to be where you're going to follow up. So that's what we're going to do next is step 3R. Check the level of risk and decide how you're going to follow up. So you saw this visual before, scale of 1 to 5. 1 is poor fit, 5 is excellent fit. We want to think about the level of fit and how much risk you have in hiring this person. And the mind map you want to use is first you want to look at how many areas in the TriMetrix assessment did not match the benchmark. You had numerous areas that do not match what you use as a data point to see where they're a fit. You're going to have more risk. The next thing you want to think about is, does their background match the job? So if they have a background that matches potential success in the position, then they're less of a risk. If their background doesn't match, there's a little bit of risk there. And then last but not least, thinking about how the person fits in your culture and is going to fit on the team. So from there, you just do a mental map of how much risk is involved here. Are they an excellent fit or a poor fit or somewhere in between? From there, we're going to do some follow-up. And you'll see the candidate I mentioned earlier, the sales candidate, did not match in the area of self-management. We have sample interview questions for you for every area in TriMetrix. So, for example, if this candidate did not score strong in self-management, then what you might do is there's 7 or 8 self-management questions you could choose from. I've got one example on the video. What you would do is have a second interview and focus specifically on the areas that did not match and use some of our sample interview questions as a guide. You could also, when you're talking to references, ask specifically about that area. So tell me a little bit about this person's ability to manage their time and manage their priorities, which is the definition of self-management. Sometimes you can get more information from references when you ask very specific questions. So it's a strategy to try. But these interview questions will be on the tools page. So those are the 3 steps for debriefing a TriMetrix Talent Report. Step 1B, benchmark. Step 2C, check reliability and compare candidates' results to the benchmark. Step 3R, determine the level of risk and decide how you're going to follow up. You can use those interview questions. Today we've talked about what's measured, how to apply the results, and walk through the debriefing in 3 steps, all because of how we started today talking about how hiring is a competitive advantage. If you would like to reach out to me, my contact number is 770-578-6976, Susie@pricelistprofessional.com. Check out the tools page, pricelistprofessional.com/hubTriMetrix, password hubTriMetrix. Hope this has been helpful. If you have any feedback on making this better or more helpful to you, or if it does help you, it would be nice to know that too. But I'm open to making this better and updating. So you can contact me anytime. And thank you for being a Priceless Professional Consultant client.